So let's talk a little bit about some of the things that we can do with oscilloscopes. And one of the things that we can do is relative compression testing, which is really nothing new. It's been around for years. But let's say we have a vehicle that comes into the shop and it's running rough, misfiring, maybe you got some engine noise, low power, whatever the case is, and you just want to get a quick state of health of the engine, see, do I have a compression problem? Do I have something else going on? It's a real easy test. All I need is an oscilloscope, and I just need to check battery voltage while cranking the engine. So what you can see here on the screen is an 8-cylinder engine. I've got the firing order right there, and I've got two channels on the scope. Channel A, right here, I'm measuring battery voltage while cranking the engine. Channel B, I've got a trace on an ignition coil to see when my coil fires, and that ignition coil specifically is ignition coil number 3. So how would this work? Well, this is really helpful for diesels. And the reason I say that is a lot of our newer diesels are using ceramic glow plugs, and they're one-time use. So for me to do a traditional compression test on a diesel engine, I'm gonna have to remove the glow plugs and get my compression gauge, do my compression test, and then replace the glow plugs. That gets pretty expensive, and it's pretty intrusive on a diesel too. Sometimes, depending on which diesel engine we're talking about, you may have to remove parts to get those glow plugs out. So just kind of show you what I've done here and how I have this hooked up. You can see my car right here. My blue lead, channel A, is going to positive and negative over there by my fuse box. My red lead, channel B, I've got it back probed into my ignition coil driver circuit for cylinder 3. So let's take a look at our graph on the screen here. So I just cranked this engine for about 10 seconds, and I got a capture, and then I had to filter this to where I could actually see it, but I'll show you how to filter it here in just a second. It doesn't really matter what type of oscilloscope you use. It doesn't have to be a fancy picoscope or anything like that. Picoscopes are expensive. However, if you were to invest in one, they're great tools to have around. You pick out the scope that's right for you. So let's take a look at our graph here. So here's what we're looking at. When I'm cranking an engine and each individual cylinder comes up on compression stroke, the engine slows down. It puts more load on the starter because we're compressing, right? So what you would see here is you would see a drop in voltage from here to here, from here to here, from here to here. We're going to do a second video with a low compression condition so you can see the difference. There is no low compression condition with this engine right now. No issues with it. We're just demonstrating how this works. So let's say we did have low compression. To determine which cylinder it is, I need a second channel and I need a trace. In this case, we're using a coil driver circuit to determine which cylinder is which. And then we just need to know what the firing order of the engine is. Well, you can see the firing order right there, 187265543. So this is when ignition coil number 3 fires. So ignition coil number 3 fired right here. So then the firing order starts over, 1, 8, 7, 2, 6, 5, 4, 3. And then we start over again. So let's say this thing came in that was running rough, and maybe I thought I had a base engine issue, cam lobe, push rod, lifter, small crack in a piston ring land, something along those lines. Well, this tells me I don't have any base engine issues at all, and my misfire would have to be related to something else. Fuel injector, ignition coil, spark plug, whatever the case is. Now, you will probably need to set some filters on your oscilloscope when you do this so you can see what we're looking at here. And that's not hard to do. On any scope, you just need to really know how your scope works. So I have my channels on the left hand side of my screen. Let me bring this in where you can see it a little bit better. So you need to open up your settings menu for your channels. So if I open up my settings menu for channel A here, I can set my voltage, which most of the time you can auto range on a scope and it's going to work out the way you want it to, but that's not true in every case. Right here where it says display, I changed the scaling on my graph to a 10, which blows this up. And then I had to offset it. What the offset does, I'll show you, it raises and lowers the graph on the screen, so I had to offset it to bring it back into my field of view. And you can also see on my time divisions right here, I have it set to 200 milliseconds per division. So every division of time is 200 milliseconds. I needed to change these settings to bring this in and magnify it where I can get more detail, more resolution, and see this. So how do you learn how to do that? Well, a lot of times it's just by playing with your scope and doing some testing. Starting with a known good vehicle and getting to learn your scope and how the scope can work and benefit you, right? And there's a lot of oscilloscope forums out there. I will leave the link in this description to a very good website. It is picoauto.com, where they have a lot of really good, valuable, and free information that you can access and take a look at a few things. Maybe it'll help you out. Then you got a lot of other forums out there where technicians that diagnose with oscilloscopes put out a lot of really good information. So it's always good to tap into those resources. But an oscilloscope's an invaluable tool. It's been around for many, many years. They've just gotten a lot smaller and a lot easier to use, in my opinion, anyway. So this is just a real quick relative compression test. And just something we can do real quick with the scope just to get the overall state of health of an engine. Now in the next video, we will have a compression loss so you can see what that looks like and how that changes this pattern here. So that'll be coming pretty soon. Thanks.